Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the oh-so-beautiful, oh-so-wonderful, oh-so-historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored and so very happy that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show and let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have two wonderful guests who are going to celebrate storytelling and how we can get our kids to fall in love with reading. Alysson Bourque will be up first, celebrating her Alleycat series, and later in the show, we will meet Meredith Davis. We would like to invite you to embark on a transformative journey with The Invisible Backpack, A Life of Courage, written by William Hartwick. Are you burdened by past hurts, grief, or trauma? William's heartfelt narrative, born from his own struggles with depression and Tourette syndrome, offers a pathway to lightening your load. Just like you, he knows the weight of an invisible backpack, growing heavier as life unfolds. But in his touching story, William invites you to courageously unpack it, making space for forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, and love. Join William on a profound exploration of healing, blessings, and inner strength. Through William's vulnerability, he reveals the power of embracing your true self. Don't miss this inspirational tale of resilience and hope. Order your copy of The Invisible Backpack today and embark on a journey of self-discovery and courage. Get ready for a heartwarming adventure in Mommy's Day Off, the delightful picture book written by Jacqueline Christine. When young Louie's mom has to be away for a day, he's in for a wild ride with his dad. From waffle and ice cream breakfast to Wild West battles, they embark on an unforgettable journey filled with laughter and bonding. But as the day unfolds, Louie realizes there's a special magic that only his mom can bring to their home. Join Louie as he discovers the irreplaceable role his mom plays in his life, making Mommy's Day Off a touching tale of family, love, and the unique bond between a mother and her child. Get your copy today at Amazon or at JacquelineChristine.com. Hey, are you looking for a fun read to share with your kids? Take a magical journey through Italy with Mozzarella and his cheese-loving friends. Introducing the Mozzarella book series written by Jenna James. You and your kids are going to love to follow Mozzarella and his friends as they search for the golden bucket genie. Along the way, you'll learn Italian words, discover new cultures, and learn important lessons about family, honesty, and kindness. Parents will love the bilingual elements that subtly teach a new language. And kids will be entertained and engaged page after page. Discover the heartwarming tales of Mozzarella today. Please visit mozzarellabooks.com to pre-order the series and to find free activities, recipes, and more. The Mozzarella Books by Jenna James, bringing families together with tales of cheese, culture, and fun. Join us right now from the great state of Louisiana. Our guest is returning to the show to celebrate. The latest book in our Alleycat series is called Alleycat and the Sunday Scaries. Please welcome back to the show, Alysson Bourque. Hey, Allie, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Love having you on. We're celebrating a couple of things. First, we're celebrating this new book. Tell us all about it, please.
Okay, so I just about to release Alleycat and the Sunday Scaries. And this is the 7th book of the Alleycat series. Her friends all go out to play on a Sunday, as we all, used to love to do. And as they play, each one encounters something that is fearful, and they have to work together to try to conquer that fear and to dig deep and get that, courage to move past some of those obstacles, and they work together. I've included a few, what I call literary Easter eggs within the book, that relate to the previous book. So it's super fun. It gives readers the tools and resources to be able to conquer their own fears and get through some of those day-to-day obstacles.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget how big the world is in the eyes of our kids. And when they come to us with I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, we kind of, don't be silly. And I'm not sure, we want our kids to be resilient. We want to teach them to not be afraid of everything. But at the same time, we don't want to just kind of poo-poo their fears.
Right. So I had an author visit yesterday at a school, and we're talking about one of the characters in the book. Her name is Kit, and they see her crying with her bike, and she's scared to get on her bike and ride her bike. So after I read the story, I asked the students in the author visit, why do you think she was scared to ride her bike, or what causes that fear, and have you ever been scared to ride a bike? And of course they all raise their hands because they love to talk in author visit. And what surprised me is that they all had different answers. Mm-hmm. It could be that it was her first time riding a bike. Maybe it wasn't her first time, but she hadn't ridden the bike in a while. Or some might be scared of some of the rocks or obstacles in the road, or, other bike riders, or maybe even being scared to leave home. So I thought that was fascinating, that fear and being scared comes from different places, and it's different for everyone. But the tools and resources that you can use to conquer those are aligned. So I thought that was interesting because, we all say it's like riding a bike, but it really isn't. Mm-hmm. For kids, there's so many different reasons, and if we can find that reason and give them the tools, then they can conquer their fears and be brave.
Yeah. I think it's so important for us to remember that the things that we've been doing all of our lives that we don't even think about anymore, kids are doing it for the very first or maybe second or third time, and it took us a while before we were comfortable doing a lot of things.
Right, and so that's kind of what inspired me to write this story, is that even when you do something multiple times, if you kind of take a break from it and you don't do it for a while, that fear sets in, that nervousness sets in again. And so I had kind of stepped out of the limelight of doing news interviews with Killer Pigs and author visits. And so all of a sudden, I got this anxiousness. And so I couldn't figure out why, but really it's because when you do something over and over again, you're conquering that fear every day, so the fear gets smaller. But if you skip out and not do it for a while, that could come back. And so that's what inspired me to write the book and put that out there and know that that's okay. And by doing it more and going back, riding that bike more, going and speaking in front of people more, writing more books, that will help you conquer that fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can you remind us, what was it that initially inspired you to write the Alleycat series?
Yes, so it was actually inspired by my own children. I was practicing law right before I started writing children's books, and I felt like I was missing out on their lives because they were really young. They were 4 and 6 years old, and I wanted to be at home and in their lives more. So I said, I'm taking a temporary retirement. I'm going to be at home with them, and we're going to do all the things. And so one of them was reading books every night, and so we read every single book in the bookshelf. And they asked for more books. So instead of telling them that I would buy them more books, I just in an effort to get them to go to sleep, I said, how about I just write you a story tomorrow night? And they took me seriously, and they believed in me, and they said, yes, do it. Let's, I want to hear it. And so then it kind of made me say, well, you know what, I can do this. So I put them to bed and ended up writing the first book, Alleycat, and Thursday Dessert Day. And when I started writing that, I realized that it was easy for me to do. I had been writing trial briefs, and that's never easy, but this was easy to do, and for me at least. And it's inspired by my kids. They had a milk protein allergy when they were little, and so they would miss out on dessert day because all they served was ice cream where they were at. And so I wanted to give them the tools to create their own happiness, despite what might hold them back. And so I read it to them the next night. It was not all the way finished. It was not edited, and they loved it. So, they're the reason why I'm actually about to put together the 9th book in the Alleycat series. So it just keeps growing.
That's really wonderful. Isn't it wonderful when our kids remind us of how much more we can do than we think?
It's so true. It's so true. And, when they believe in you, you believe in yourself, and they're so innocent and genuine. And so when they do tell you that you can do something, you really listen to those words.
Yeah. And I can appreciate how much more fun it would be writing Alleycat than a legal brief.
Yeah, it's way more fun. Way more fun. You can actually predict the ending with it.
Yeah, there's a couple of high-profile trials in the news these days, and it's like, how is this going to end up?
Don't know, and sometimes it's hard to know if the end result is fair. And so with children's books, for me, they're all lesson-based. And so what I like is that I can put a positive spin on it and know that it's fair for all.
Yeah. Did you have any hesitation, like thinking, "Oh, I'm a lawyer, and now I'm just writing kids' books," or was it, "I was a lawyer, but now I'm writing kids' books"?
So at first I didn't miss it at all. I was glad for my temporary retirement. I decided to keep my license because you never know if you want to go back to practice. I guess just recently I started really missing being in the courtroom, but then I went to an author visit and I said, this is so fun. These kids are real, they're genuine, they're excited, and you never know what the future will hold. But, just to be honest, that, at some point I said, did I just kind of throw that away? But then the next day somebody tells you that your series is the reason why they love reading now and got them to start reading. And then you're like, this is everything.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mentioned at the top of our conversation that we're celebrating a couple of different things. Certainly we're celebrating Alleycat and the Sunday Scaries. But when you first came on the podcast, Alleycat was a self-published project. And now this book has been traditionally published by a traditional publisher. And as you were sharing with me before we started recording, they decided to pick up the whole series.
Yes, that was super exciting. And that was my goal from the beginning, is to work hard and get to that point. And every author out there knows how hard that is. And for me, that was my goal. And so I used that as a stepping stone to get to that goal. And of course, every time I would release a book, I would pitch the manuscripts and query the agents. And finally, after I believe it was year 5, I got picked up by a traditional publisher who then picked up the entire series. And now I signed a contract for the 4th book with them. So that will make 9. So
wow.
It's just a testament to working hard and continually striving to meet that goals. It may not happen right away, but after years and years,
yeah. So was it a bit, the writing process, has it changed a lot for you going from kind of being your own boss and the captain of the ship to now you have another captain, you have an editor and art director and all of that?
Yeah, so I look at it like a team,
Mm-hmm.
and I love the fact that they can edit my manuscript. In the beginning, I was super wordy. I had over 1,000 words, and we know picture books should be right at under 1,000 words, and so I'm so glad that they are part of the team and they have my best interest. And I love the fact that they have some creative control because two heads are better than one, and it's changed slightly. They give me a lot of creative control as well. So I love being able to brainstorm and discuss with them because they see things that I sometimes don't. Sometimes I'll say, like in the book, I had put Spotty climbed down, put one hand on the treehouse steps, but they reminded me these are cats. They have paws. So, it's just little things like that I may not have caught.
Yeah. Teamwork, as they say sometimes, teamwork makes the dream work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. So what is, you mentioned that you've signed a contract for more books in the Alleycat series. Any aspirations to try different genres, middle grade, maybe chapter books?
I would love to do a middle grade. I keep getting requests from different readers in the Alleycat series to do a middle grade. So I would love to do that one day. My publisher doesn't typically do middle grade, so I probably would have to query those. I started writing a novel, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of time. And right now, pushing these books out there in our PR firm, and it's just and my kids who are teenagers now, and I'm their Uber. I'll keep working at it and definitely get to those one day.
Yeah. What advice do you give the many authors and aspiring authors that are listening to the show that have that dream? Maybe they've gotten a book and they've self-published it through KDP or another hybrid company, and it's like I want what Alysson has. I want to get to that point where she is in her career. What advice do you have for those folks?
So, sometimes it takes a long time to get your goals accomplished, and some first-time writers will contact me and, whatever they define success as, and for me that was to actually have stores and readers, get copies of the book and want to read them, and so I find it's successful because of that. I think it's important to know that your success won't come right away. It takes, just with anything, it takes a lot of work and love and passion and resources to get to a point where you can find success. Also, research so much of what works with picture books, what works with marketing, what works with publishers and getting picked up, and ask the questions and find an author who you can reach out to and be a support system and get guidance from as well. Those are all the things I tell, especially new authors who want their series or their book to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you taken the time to think about, with all the things that are going on, being your kid's Uber, running the PR firm with our other friend Laurie Olinsky, and Allie and Laurie are going to come back on in a future episode to talk about trends in publishing and some other hints that they've in knowledge that they've picked up. But with all that's going on, you play the Alleycat series and everything else. Have you been able to take the time to think about how many thousands and thousands of kids you've brought a smile to through your books?
So just the other day, I was creating a video of my author visit, and there was 500 kids there. And the teachers thought that they were, kind of a little bit rambunctious, which they always are, but they were having fun. And that's what matters. I don't care if they're clapping, singing, moving around. And as long as they're having fun. And so when I was creating that video, I really just started to kind of tear up because I thought, this was 500 kids, but I've been doing this for almost 8 years. I've probably been around 10,000 kids or so, and we've had such a great time. And that's everything. And so my heart was just so full, and thinking back to my first author signing where no one showed up, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna just keep going. I'm just gonna keep doing this. So it's just so surreal, and I do attribute it to where I'm supposed to be in this life, and I'm very faithful, and I think this is God's plan, and as long as it works, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Any chance Alleycat's going to end up in court arguing before the Supreme Court or anything like that?
She might one day. She might. I actually have 2 books that I've signed a contract for outside of the week-based series. And so Alleycat and the Copycat will be out next year. And then I signed a contract for Alleycat and the Christmas Cookie Exchange. So I'm super excited about these different types of Alleycat books to add to the series.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. Hey, before we go, I remember you created something. You were part of something, a way to get Alleycat out there. You created this kind of story walk, and I thought it was so clever. And can you just remind everybody what that is? Because I think it's something that lots of authors should check out. What a great way to share your work.
Yeah, so what I did was I had these storyboards, so the pages of the books blown up onto those signs, like those political signs with the H frame. And so I did 7 of those, and they were front and back. So each one was, page 1, page 2. And as you walk, you get to read the story, and then you walk back on the opposite side, and you read the rest of the story. And I inputted QR codes with messages from the author. Also, my YouTube has, the Alleycat Shuffle. It's got songs and the book trailers. And so as you walk, it's interactive as well. And so I created a few of those. I put them around a lot of different areas in Louisiana. And then the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, kind of caught wind of it, and she does Little Red News, which is a segment that she does on YouTube sharing good news. And so we collaborated with her, and she shared this, and we filmed at a local elementary school here, and she was just so wonderful in sharing that. And they're offered now on my website, but authors can do it as well. It's super fun. It's great for summer reading at libraries. Your local public library would probably be so overjoyed to put those outside to get people almost like coming in on the front doors of the library. So
really, really, really wonderful. Alysson, tell everybody, please, where they can go to find out more about the Alleycat series, find out more about you, sing the songs, watch the videos, all of that.
So they can check it out at my website, alleycatseries.com. It's ALYCAT series.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Excellent. And if those aspiring authors and current authors out there are looking for a little bit of publicity, where can they get in touch with you and Lori?
At expoundpublicity.com. And so we're happy to help at any stage that they're in. We represent self-published, hybrid, traditional. We have different marketing campaigns based on their needs. It's all customized.
Awesome. We've had a wonderful time speaking to the author of Alleycat and the Sunday Scaries. Our guest has been Alysson Bourque. Hey, Alysson, thanks so much for being back with us.
Thank you so much.
Hey, are you ready to ignite a passion for reading in your students? Introducing bookandauthor.com, your gateway to literacy connections. With bookandauthor.com, connecting your school with talented authors of captivating kids' books has never been easier. Simply visit our user-friendly website and explore our extensive database of authors. Filter your search based on budget, genre, and availability. Discover the perfect match for your school and your students. But that's not all. With bookandauthor.com, you have the power to request a proposal. Let vetted authors come to you with their tailored ideas, ensuring an unforgettable literacy experience for your students. Don't wait any longer to inspire young minds through the magic of books. Visit bookandauthor.com today and open the door to a world of literacy connections. Bookandauthor.com, where literacy comes to life. Before we invite our guests into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Before we invite our guests into the studio, I want to ask you, are you looking for a unique way to support diverse voices in literature? Introducing By YQ Book Fairs, where every page tells a story of empowerment, culture, and diversity. By YQ Book Fairs is a 100% women and minority-owned initiative showcasing a hand-picked selection of diverse books that celebrate inclusivity and representation. From captivating narratives to thought-provoking poetry, our curated collection has something for everyone. And hosting a By YQ Book Fair is a super easy and a fantastic way to raise funds for your organization or cause. So why wait? Visit buyobq.com today to learn more about how you can bring the magic of diverse literature to your community while supporting women and minority-owned businesses. Join us right now from Austin in the great state of Texas. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new middle grade novel. It's book 1 of 2. It's called The Minor Miracle. Please welcome to the show, Meredith Davis. Meredith, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Jed. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you on Reading with Your Kids. Tell us about The Minor Miracle, please.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able to talk to kids about this book. Comes out May 7th, and like you said, it's called The Minor Miracle. It's book 1 of the amazing adventures of Noah Minor. And in a nutshell, Noah Minor, when he was a baby, was dropped 16 stories and mysteriously survived without a scratch. Nobody knows what happens. And so by the age of 12, Noah is beginning to wonder if he peaked as a baby. He's got these amazing friends. They are amazingly talented. And he just wonders, like, what is it about me that's incredible? And he doesn't see what it is. And then he finds out that he can manipulate gravity. And so he's like, yes, this is it. I've got a superpower. But it's really complicated. He can't, first of all, he has to get that power. And then when he gets it, he has to learn how to control that power. And in the midst of all of that, he has to figure out who to trust. So there's this top secret government agency, and they're going to be training him. But then he's also got his great uncle Saul, who may hold the key to understanding this power, but he's also on the Gravitas Most Wanted list. And so that's the adventure. And at the end, Noah's going to find out that he actually had access to an amazing superpower that he never even realized, and that's the power of friendship. And so I talk a lot about superpowers, superheroes, did a bunch of fun research into all of that.
Wow. Wow. Talk about exciting. Boy, that is just one of those. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat just listening to you describe it.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
I hope kids are too.
Yeah. You know, why do you think it is about superheroes that attracts, I was going to say attracts kids, but I mean, not kids anymore. It's like everybody loves superheroes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's huge franchises and the movies that come out. And in fact, Spider-Man, is one that is Noah Miner's favorite. So he, as a character, is also just obsessed by superheroes, just like everybody else. And so that there's something I think about comic books, and I really got into them as I was studying and researching for this book, that hits on like some of our deepest desires and also like some really big, cool truths kind of like housed in these adventures. So like with Spider-Man, there's that famous quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." And then there's this amazing story that goes around with it that really resonates of like, oh my gosh, he's got this amazing power, but he misused it. And now his uncle is dead. And so I think in a nutshell, like that little phrase can just clue us into this amazing story that happens with it. That's kind of foundational in Spider-Man. And it goes off in this direction or that direction. There's all these different comic books around the Spider-Man like universe, but it comes down to that central element. And so I think some of the best superheroes, that happens. We get this like great theme that we can hang on to that's like relevant to us. Yeah. Like we can relate to the idea of with great power comes great responsibility. Even kids can, we're going to give you this great responsibility. We're going to trust that you can rise to the occasion. And so maybe that's what it is about superheroes. I think it also is just like that whole idea of like dreaming. What if it happened to me? And that's the other thing I try and capture in this book. We've got Peter Parker, ordinary person, all of a sudden this amazing thing happens and he can like swing through the city and do these amazing things. And so we get to dream, like, what would my superpower be? I love that question. What's your superpower?
Yeah.
What would you rather fly or be invisible? These ideas, but then it brings it down to our kind of ordinary existence. And I put it in quotes because nothing I think is really ordinary. There's pretty extraordinary things that happen in this ordinary world of ours.
Absolutely. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what would your dream superpower be?
Oh, okay. So I think this is such an interesting question because what is my dream superpower? I think it's to fly. I would love to fly. I just think it would be amazing. But I think I also have a superpower.
Ooh.
For me, I think one of them is reading. And so it kind of sounds hokey, but it's such an incredible thing to be able to read and have it take you away. The very best books, I'm totally out of my body and I'm in this other world with these other characters. I'm getting to experience this other place and time. And so, I think one of my big messages to kids with this book is going to be, what's your superpower? So like first, dream about it. Like if you could do something incredible, like I love the whole Harry Potter series and what are they capable of doing? And they thought they were just muggles. They thought they were just ordinary until that one day when something happened and it all clicked, like that idea. And I have that kind of element with us. With this book, it's the eye test. So, every kid in public school, in private, they do these eye tests in 7th grade and they get tested to see if their vision is good. Well, in this book, when you take that eye test, it's actually reading you and it can tell when you're laser focused on those letters, it can tell whether you have the ability to manipulate gravity. And that's how this organization Gravitas identifies kids. So like, I love the idea that like any kid at any moment could find out something incredible and not realize what's going on. And so, it blends the worlds.
That's incredible. It's interesting you're talking about that. That device that, the eye test that, lets this organization identify people.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can talk about as we're reading The Minor Miracle with our kids is just the fact that, there's big tech firms that they may not be tracking our eyesight to find out if we can manipulate gravity, but they're tracking us, and we need to talk about this with our kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great message and important. So important and scary. Like, be present, be careful. Absolutely. And I think I even play with that a little bit in the whole idea of like, is this gravitas something that we trust or not? Have they become, drunk with power? What are their motives? And kind of asking those questions. What are the motives? Why is this social media thing out here? Mm-hmm. What's the motive for the people that are actually running it? Mm-hmm. To keep you engaged, mm-hmm. to keep you on there, to remove you from your friends and your everyday sports, whatever it is? Like, that's pretty nefarious.
Yeah.
So to always like be asking yourself, be questioning like, hey, is this a good thing? There's a phrase in the book, is this true, good, and beautiful? And so like that's kind of the goal for these kids that are in training. Like these gravitas students are going to pursue what is true, good, and beautiful in using their superpowers. And so ask yourself, what's really going on here? What's the goal?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And, I think another message we need to remind our kids is if something is free, then you're the product.
That's a great thing.
Yeah,
yeah absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing's free.
Yeah, there's
not
nothing
really free.
I also love that idea of that question, is this true, good, and beautiful? What a great question to ask yourself as you're making decisions.
Right. I mean, I think that kids are content creators in lots of ways. Like, obviously, I think all kids are so creative, and they can create, whether they're writing or they're drawing or even like being in plays, drama. It doesn't have to fall under the umbrella of like what we usually consider creativity. But that whole content creator has taken on a whole new meaning with social media. And so like thinking about like, what are you putting out there? Like that picture, that whatever, that message. If you're out there putting something out to your friends, whether it's online, whether it's in real life, like, is it true? Is it good? Is it beautiful? Mm-hmm. Is it building someone up or tearing them down? It's a great question to ask, to just run it through that filter. Yeah. I think, yeah.
So how did that come to you?
That whole idea of true, good, and beautiful?
Yeah.
I'm a mom. I have 3 kids and a grandbaby, and it was something that we just talked about a lot with our kids, running it through that filter. When they came upon big questions, or when they had a friend that was maybe not like treating them well, or not friend that's not treating them well. Like, what did that person say to you? Or what are you pursuing? Is it true? Is it like really true about who you are? Is it a good thing? Is it going to help people or turn, is it a beautiful thing? If it is, it's worth pursuing, even if you fail at it. Mm-hmm. It's a worthy pursuit. And so I feel like it kind of falls into lots of different conversations depending on what's coming up in your kid, with your kid. Do I try out for the play? What if I don't get it? Well, it's true that you're being brave to do it. It's going to be a great play. It's going to be a good experience. It's beautiful to use your gifts. Let's see what happens. Let's see where it takes you. There's lots of different ways to use it. Yeah. I use it when I'm writing. I think I often run it through that filter because I want there to be a deeper level. Like, there's the plot level, and I want it to be exciting, and I don't want you to be able to put it down. But, I was listening to a few of your earlier podcasts, and I think it might have been the last one that I heard was about someone who talked about reading a book with her child while her child was at camp, and how it brought about this like common narrative, like they had the same language and they could talk about things through the filter of that book. And so I think that's true, good, and beautiful. Like, I want there to be conversations surrounding this that are way deeper than just like what happened in the plot. I want it to be true, good, and beautiful, something deeper than that. So I run it through that filter.
Yeah, we encourage families to continue reading with their kids after kids become independent readers. And a middle grade novel is such a fun genre, I think. Not only for kids, but I enjoy reading that genre myself. And what great if you're co-reading a book, not necessarily curled up on the couch reading with your 12-year-old or 13-year-old, but you're co-reading.
Right.
And instead of having your kid play a video game or pop on the headphones or listening to music on the way into school or ballet or soccer, you're talking about the minor miracle, and you're talking about Noah, and you're talking about this concept, is this good, true, and beautiful? Yeah. I mean, I think you could go the whole school year and have conversations around this idea.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. Well, I hope so. I think I love, I'm so behind that idea of engaging over books. And I still do that with my adult kids. We share books all the time, but we started, I think middle grade is a really interesting genre because it's when kids are beginning to become independent. With picture books, you're reading to them mostly. Then you get into early chapter books where they're like figuring out how to read and so you're hearing that. Middle grade, they can go and take it, or you can do it as a story time. And you kind of get out of that when you get into young adult and they become teens. So it's like capturing that moment. But man, I hand middle grades to adults all the time because they have to be short, to keep the attention span. They can't have all these extra words, these flowery, huge descriptions. They have to get to it and get to it. Like the story has to work. It has to be engaging. And so I find that adults can love them just as much as kids. Yeah. And so it's such a cool, bite-sized story. You know, it's not going to generally be 600 pages sometimes, but you can get through it. And as a parent that has a kid that loves to read, like my kids were big readers, it was hard to keep up with them. But I could generally do it with middle grade. Yeah. I could keep up with them and try at least, catch some of them so that we could have that common experience.
You know, you shared with us earlier that you did a lot of research into superheroes and comic books. Did the idea of taking and telling the story of the Minor Miracle as a graphic novel, did that occur to you?
Honestly, I've thought about doing a graphic novel, not for this book, but it's such a different process. You write it as a script. I actually have a different book that I did try with a graphic novel concept, but with this one, I wanted to tell it straight and then have it illustrated like spots. So we've got like 50 illustrations in here, but it's not graphic novel. Now, I had thought about, and it actually, I'm going to tell you this that I don't know if I'll ever share with people, but I had this idea at the end, in the beginning, that he's obsessed with comic books. So we talk a lot about comic strips, and there's a few illustrations in here that are like full page and have that graphic novel look to them. At the end, I was going to have the whole book made up as a comic strip, graphic novel, just taking those spot illustrations and seeing if kids could tell the story just from remembering from the pictures what happened. And then at the very, very end, challenging kids to do the same thing with their life. So think of your life visually. It's a really different exercise to think about. Don't do it with words. What are the objects? What are the things that you would use picture-wise to illustrate your story? See if you can do it with very few little word bubbles. And I just think it would be a fun exercise, and I thought it would be very interactive and fun with classrooms. I do a lot of author visits and stuff, and we ended up, at the end of the day, we were like, I think it's distracting. I can still say that to kids, but we won't actually have it in the book. So I might do that as an activity, put it up on a slide or something. But writing a script, I feel like for graphic novels, if you don't already have a relationship with an illustrator and you're not working with them and as just an author, it's difficult. It's such a different process. And so I'm still learning how to do it. And maybe I'll do it with something else. It would have been an interesting way. And a lot of times what happens is middle grade books get adapted into graphic novels. Like Max Browlier, he actually blurbed this book, and he's, what is the name of the book? The Last Kids on Earth. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's huge. It's become a comic, and I'm sorry, it was originally a middle grade. It became a Netflix series. He toured the country in a van that was all outfitted out. The publisher sent him out on this huge author tour. It's been really successful. Now he's got it adapted to it's kind of like taking the same characters and putting them in a graphic novel format.
Oh, neat.
And then, yeah, there's been several successful kids series where they've been okay, let's Babysitter's Club. That's been put into a graphic novel.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the not too distant future, we'll have that with the Amazing Adventures of Noah Minor.
I would love that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things I read on your website is that you were one of the first peoples in the United States to read Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. How cool is that? I feel like that's I think if I still had, they call them galleys or ARCs, advanced reader copies. And so I worked at a children's bookstore, and this book came in, and, we hadn't even we'd heard a little bit about it, and we started passing it around because we got to take those home as booksellers and read them before they were actually on the shelf. And man, we could not get our hands. Everybody wanted it. We were writing little notes. We were highlighting. We were writing our name in it and stuff. So I had to give it to the next bookseller so they could read it too. I probably finished that thing in a night. I loved it so much. We knew that book was going to capture kids' hearts. And interestingly, earlier you talked about doing a cross-country trip. We took our kids out of school for a year when they were younger, and we traveled all around the world. And I tell you what, we could find Harry Potter in lots of different countries. And so we have this coveted series that's in the British. So the British had different illustrations than the American editions. And so we've got both. We've got the American the U.S. editions, and then we've got the British editions with their own illustrations, which was kind of cool.
Wow, that's interesting. Not that you would necessarily know the answer. I know that there's certain different spellings, and British way to spell and United States way to spell. So I would understand that, but I have no idea why they would have different illustrations.
Yeah, well, and they do change a few things in there as well. The text, if you compare them, there's just a tiny few little edits and stuff. But I don't know. I think that, Scholastic bought that series to publish in the U.S. And so they had their own vision for what American kids would want to see for a cover versus UK. And, marketing departments are pretty savvy, and they know their audience. And so, I found as an author that you really have to trust. So this is my second book, actually, The Minor Miracle. I don't know if you can see it, but I had a book, a nonfiction come out, called Her Own 2 Feet, and working with the publisher, that was a Scholastic book. And so working with the publisher on that one, with the cover and everything, was a really interesting experience, just the decisions they made. Same with The Minor Miracle. This has been such a great publisher to work with. They were awesome. And I love my illustrator. And they let me be part of designing it. I would see little bits of it and pieces and then have input. So I don't know if you can see the nefarious shadow in the moon, but this is the bad guy, the baddie. Yeah. So.
Well, that is fascinating. And I think that's a whole other conversation, I think, that we can have with our kids. And I really encourage parents to have conversations not only about the books that you're reading, but about the business of books and media, and help kids understand that there are these people who are creating content for different reasons, and they should be aware of those reasons.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, children's book publishers, they obviously want to sell books, but the editors that I've had the privilege of working with, and their people. So whether it's the marketing or the publicity or whoever it is at those publishers, they love children's books. It is a hard job. You don't get paid well. It's super challenging. They're super busy, and so I just, in some ways, maybe it's different than other industries. Let's talk about books versus maybe social media, where we've got gargantuan corporations. Pick up a children's book. Those publishers, they want to put the right book in the right children's hands. They're taking big risks and personal loss to get that, to a lot of sacrifices to get those books into the right kids' hands. So, and they know what they're doing, in a way that's not manipulative, but hey, let's delight in the fact that we found the perfect book for the perfect kid. It was my favorite thing to do as a bookseller, to have somebody come in and say, I have this 12-year-old niece and she likes this and this and this, but I'm looking for something kind of like it, but I don't know. And I was like, oh yeah. And we got to bring giant crates home with us as booksellers. The book owner would let us bring these books home for free and read them, so we knew what we were selling, and then bring them back. It was a great education to work in that bookstore and see what's being published, what are kids loving, what are they gravitating to. As a writer, I learned so much from working in that bookstore. It was awesome.
I've never had the pleasure of working in a bookstore, but I did have the pleasure of, and I've told this story in the podcast, being at an event, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. And I met a family there, and it was an interesting family, 2 or 3 young kids, one was in a stroller, and then a teenager, 12, 13-year-old. And so the family's checking out the different books that are at my booth, and the teenager's being kind of a teenager, and I said, what kind of books do you like to read? And she said, I don't like to read. Reading's boring. And I had a book. It was written by our friend Stephen Joseph, the last Karankatankosaurus. I know I butchered the title, but that was part of the fun of the book, is that there was talking about this real cranky dinosaur, and there's puns and there's really difficult words. And I said, let's read this together. And she opened it up, and she had a blast, and she starts laughing, and she's smiling. And I said, I thought you didn't like reading. And she didn't put the book, and I think I gifted the book to her. And
oh, my gosh, what a great story. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it is a superpower to connect, to see the light go on, to see a kid all of a sudden connect, like, wait a second, like maybe they've thought that they're not a reader because they don't excel at English in school, or maybe they've got a sibling who's a really good reader, so now they think they're not, or whatever. You put yourselves into these categories and you think that's not me. And so to figure out the switch that's going to turn them on and realize, wait, like books are for everybody. You just got to find the right one. I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I'm thinking here, we talk about, you know, the conversations families can have. I just want to challenge all the parents out there, and all the aunts and uncles and nieces and aunts and uncles by choice, to go out there and to try to do what I did at the Chicago Touring Game Fair. Try to do what Meredith did as a bookseller, and find that book that is going to spark a love of reading in one of the kids' lives that you love. I messed that sentence
absolutely.
up, but I hope people understood it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not just about, like, I think even with the youngest kids, I have a 2-year-old grandson. And so, like, even if it's the very youngest kid, we hear all the time, like, reading is valuable, but we talked earlier about just, like, that common language. Like, there's so many reasons, and it's not just about academic success. And, like, oh, okay, if I read to them, then they're going to be a better student. It's like, there's so much to be gained in, like, just the experience of reading together, the way that you bond over those stories. Now we have a common vocabulary. There's, like, phrases from some favorite books that we still say to each other.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole world of, it's so worth it. Because it is a struggle. Like, I have one boy that, he struggled to read. He did not like it. He was like a monkey just crawling all over me in the couch while we were sitting there trying to, like, buckle down and learn how to do it. And it's like each kid's got their own little key that's going to finally open up that gate. But, man, he reads all the time now. And he's actually got, like, a newsletter he started talking about books as an adult. So,
Awesome.
like, it's cool to see it come full circle.
Yeah, that really is wonderful. And what a gift to ourselves to be able to be part of that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Meredith, where can we go to find out more about the amazing adventures of Noah Minor, and find out more about you?
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned my website. It's meredithldavis.com. And so you'll find out all sorts of book news on that if you go check it out. It's also got, like, a place where you can put in your own superpower. I'm, like, publishing all of them. And I've gotten all kinds of fun things uploaded. And then you can find me on Instagram. I'm Meredith Davis author. I'm Meredith Davis on Facebook. Those are the best places. And I try and update people on those as far as, like, May 7th is when The Minor Miracle comes out, the first book. And I'll be kind of ramping up social medias and getting the word out there. I also have a blog that you can subscribe to. And for those that are looking for picture book ideas, I have over 25 themed picture book recommendation lists on my website. You can find that there for book reviews. So if you're looking for books about peace, or you're looking for books about thankfulness, you'll find them there. Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Minor Miracle. It is book 1 in the Amazing Adventures of Noah Minor series. Our guest has been Meredith Davis. Meredith, thanks so much for being with us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok, and at Deadly Magic on Twitter, or X, or whatever it is called today. We would also love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. So much going on there. You can check out our blog, download our free online magazine, visit our Reading With Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame, and you can connect directly with our YouTube channel. That's right, there is a button at the top of the page that will get you to our Drawing With Your Kids videos on YouTube, our STEM is Family Fun videos on YouTube. And, of course, if you're on our YouTube page, you can listen to past episodes of the podcast. Speaking of past episodes of the podcast, if you are listening on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network and would like to check out some of our past shows, you can subscribe to our show on any podcasting platform, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple. And you can also listen to all our past episodes on our website, readingwithyourkids.com. It's time to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Want to thank our guests, Alysson Bourque and Meredith Davis. Also want to thank our sponsors, I especially want to give a big thank you to my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Skylar Strauss, Nick Warner, Kyoko Ito, Kayla Newland, Kristen Barrett, Sydney Swan, Hannah Rose. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show, and thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Okay.